Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a deep dive into all the considerations you need to look at when having an EV charger installed. So let's get into it. So first things first guys, we want to be looking at the main cutout and the cable coming into the property. In this one, it's in a cupboard up here and it's right at the back. So some of the considerations with the main incoming supply and service head are the following. You need to know what that fuse is, and if it's not clearly labelled on there as 100 amps, it's likely to be either 60 or 80. And in that scenario, the best thing to do is to contact your local DNO. Our area is the SSEN. They'll come out and check that, and there shouldn't be a cost in upgrading it to 100 amps. So that's great, we need to get that sorted. It might already be 100 amps, and if that's the case and it's clearly labelled, happy days. So that's it with talking about the fuse being upgraded if that's necessary. The next thing you want to look at is this a loop supply coming in? And what is a loop supply? So a loop supply, you'll have a cable coming into the property into that service head, so that's generally going to be your incoming supply, and there might be a second one leaving your property and going to the next property. That's more likely to be the scenario in terraced or semi-detached housing. But if you have got that scenario, you're going to need to contact the DNO again, because that can mean it might not be possible to have a vehicle charger installed until that's resolved, and there may be some costs with that. Even if you only have got one cable coming in, you still might be on a loop supply, but you could be on the end of the loop. So if you're in a scenario like I've explained within terraced housing or semi-detached, it might be worth checking with your neighbour and asking to take a look-see at theirs. So that's it for that. Let's move on to the next steps. So the next thing we're going to want to take a look at, and it doesn't have to be in this order by the way, is going to be the bonding. So the bonding looks like this. It's a green and yellow cable, and you're going to want to check that your gas and your water are bonded, and the reason for that is, if they're not, there's the potential for that pipework to become electrically live under fault conditions, especially with something being plugged in on the outside of the property. So we need to make sure it is. If it isn't, it's something that your electrician could potentially quote for as part of the installation, and it can be done at that point. But this is the gas bonding up here, and typically you're going to want that to be bonded within about 30 centimetres of where the gas enters the property. So in this scenario, we're good to go up here. It's bonded in a nice location and it's very accessible. Let's go take a look in the kitchen and find the water bonding. So we've got the gas covered, let's take a look at the water. Typically you're going to find this under the sink or by your main water stop valve. In this scenario it's under the kitchen sink here and it's at the back. Basically, same principle, it's a green and yellow cable and you should have a bonding clamp that's attached to the pipework that says safety, electrical connection, do not remove. It's important to get your installer to check that that's done up tightly in both scenarios to make sure it's making a true connection. So now we've got the gas and water bonded, let's move on to the next steps. So the next question you're probably going to be asked by your installer is there any spare capacity in the current consumer unit? In this particular scenario, there wasn't. So what we've done, and it's a likely scenario for your installer as well, is we've installed a subboard here. It's metal clad, it's the current regulations, and it has surge protection in, which is a requirement for any EV charger installation. So what does this entail? It's quite a simple process and normally cheaper than replacing that consumer unit, which is another option to make it bigger. All we've done here is fit a small scale EV board that has surge protection in, which is a requirement for all EV charging installations, and then we've supplied the vehicle charger that way. So in terms of being cost effective, if your fuse board doesn't have enough capacity, that's probably the best option. Unless your consumer unit is so old, it might be worth considering upgrading that at the same time. So once we've determined whether a consumer unit upgrade is required or a subboard is to be fitted, we can then take a look at where would you like the EV charger installed? Is it going to be practical for the way you park? So in this scenario, this EV charger has been installed on the side of the garage because the customer would normally park his car where our van is and he can simply plug in and away he goes. So you want to make sure it's in a location that's going to be accessible for you and you don't regret putting it somewhere where it shouldn't be. So we've got the location of the charger down. Now we want to take a look at how we're going to get our supply cable to it. That's quite important. Are you happy with it being run externally? Does it need to go under any floorboards, etc. So in this scenario here, as you can see, the other side of this wall, if we take a look over here, is where our consumer unit was, bang about there. So what we've done in this scenario is we've punched from outside in to get our entry point, and we've run the cable down along this wall and then up to the charge point. And it's important to use fire rated fixings because this is a fire exit. So we choose to use linear clips or D-line, and in this particular scenario we've gone with linear clips. They actually make for a neater installation as well because you can barely see them and it looks a lot smarter. When selecting your EV charger, it's important to choose one that you like the look of. So you need to consider, what would you like it to look at? There's so much available on the market, and as you can see, this one is quite large and there are much discreeter options available. Also consider what colour would you like it to be, because there is a lot of choice these days. And what features do you need that charger to have? Do you have, or are you considering getting solar? Because if you do, it would make sense to get one that's solar compatible. The last thing that the installer will need from you is your MPAN number, and that is for notifying the DNO, so your local electricity supplier, of the installation once complete. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and I hope this helps you out if you are considering having an EV charger installed. Please contact us today for a free, no obligation quote, and if you're in an area that we don't cover, we have a whole network of installation partners we can put you in touch with. So thanks for now, guys, and we'll see you next time.